if this is the trending cool thing, is like communities, all of us high levelers are going to be like, high level, we want to be able to sell the trendy cool thing. We don't want to put ourselves on Skool. We don't want to recommend Sam Ovens and Hormozi just get a bigger valuation. We would love to be able to do the exact same thing, but keep it on our brand. This is a hot take. This is a spicy hot take. So here's the backstory. Let's rewind back. In 2020, actually, it was COVID. COVID was hitting. Things were going crazy. And Alex Hormozi had a software called Alan, ALAN. And obviously, gyms were hit hard. And so he's there looking like to say, hey, where do I go to make some sales? And they sold to agencies. They focused on selling to agencies. And so I recall it was the summer of 2020 where he shifted the entire offer and focused. Like they still had gym launch going, but they were focusing heavily on how could they use the same tools they had to industries that weren't as deeply impacted as gyms were. So doing pay-per performance to dentists and chiropractors and other services that were essential, right? Because there was all these places where like gyms were non-essential, they were kicked out. But if you were a doctor or, in certain categories, you still could do business. And so that was their thing. And they were focused on teaching the performance-based marketing method, pay-per-show, and using their software to agencies. They're going after agencies. And so what ended up happening is there was this almost like, I don't want to say a divide, but high level felt threatened. They absolutely did feel threatened. Mostly because one of their big affiliates at the time, Rob Bailey, did a promotion promoting Alan. And there were folks who were like, I don't need high level. I can do everything I need with Alan. Like, because it did the automated lead nurture. There's certain things. And this is, the earlier days of high level. So they didn't have as much stuff going on. And honestly, if all your leads are going into Alan, you could get away just using that and not using high level. And so it felt like this divide, was going on there. And it created this, I don't know, like times were hard for everybody. And so high level also felt like this cutback. There were lots of people saying, I can't afford this. I got to cut it down, whatever it is. Everyone's being impacted there. And that happened. I remember it was like a little bit of a controversy and feeling like what's happening here? How do we weather this thing? What's going on? And obviously they weathered it fine and everything goes. Fast forward to last year and beginning of 2023, and you had Sam Ovens kind of took note of high level and started having conversations and what's going on there. And they he had kind of approached initially and it was friendly in conversations. He was honestly surprised that I'm recounting secondhand story. Some of these pieces have blended together, but take this as entirely fiction, entirely made up. I don't know whether it's true or not, but my experience from what I was told is he was kind of surprised, almost like, how are you getting these affiliates to market for you? Because there were big names at this point, like Billie Jean had come on. You had Frank Kern had spoken at the first high level summits. And it was kind of like, traction was happening. So Sam was kind of trying to be like, what's the secret? How are you doing this thing? And high level was kind of like, we just focus on the product. Like people, like they honestly are not mastermind marketers behind the scenes. They are just product focused, and that's what their shtick has been. But they told Sam, they were like, "Hey, honestly, we already have communities on the roadmap. Like this is already happening. So just want to give you a heads up. This is happening, and so there's going to be a chance where essentially we don't really need you. We can't really promote you because we're going to have sort of your core functionality wrapped into it. And so in return, Sam, it was like, it's this weird dance going on, right? Because when you've got folks, when you've got a community, you got a base, a lot of users, just like high level experiences, everyone desires more things. And so some things you feel like, oh, that's easy. Like we could do a baby version of it. It's a lot of high level says like, I want this thing. And so they roll out like a small version of whatever it is. Cause they're like, oh, we can do that to an extent very easy or quickly. And so Sam and Skool started doing that a little bit. Like, hey, we could do courses. We could do, if you have a course, we may as well have a page so you can transact, so people can buy on it. And if we already have a page where you can transact, we could also do landing pages. That's not terribly complicated there. And so now you're starting to be like, okay, so you've, and like, well, if I have courses and that, like you got to have some sort of like content management system. Like you need to see all of your leads there. Right. So it's like, so now it's like, we technically have a CRM and courses and landing pages and products and communities, which is our core focus. But like, we got all these other things, right? And so, and folks are like, well, if someone's in there, like they should be notified, when stuff happens. And they're like, well, so I guess we could have emails go out. We could do some email marketing stuff like that. It's like, well, what if we want to notify our community members like via text? It's like, I guess we could do that channel too. And wouldn't it be nice if it was just all in one place? And so you start to see this encroachment happening where school's like, no one's picking a fight. I'm not trying to, paint that story there, but it's just the reality of how product development goes, where you start off and you are, trying to grow and adapt and do all the things that could possibly be done in there. What's interesting is Skool is community focused, and their growth has been inherently, it was smart, but it was their brand focused. So if I get someone in here, if I get a creator in here and they build their community and they invite people in, when they get invited in, they know Skool exists. So like they're in there, they're experiencing Skool. And so then they might want to have their own community in Skool because like, well, I'm here. I like what, I like the community that I'm in with this other creator. And so it was entirely, so this was straight from Sam. I talked to him maybe over the summer. Mm-hmm. So he was out at the same event and I got to talk to him for, I don't know, about a half an hour. And this is just my hot take on Sam Ovens, quirky dude. Totally quirky dude. Like I'd never gone through his world there. From what I recall of him, like the polish, he has gone the other side. Like he is not trying to, be polished or put together. Almost to the point where you don't know, like, are you trying to look like you're not trying, or are you actually just not trying? Like it's almost like that degree of stuff. This is just my hot take on Sam Ovens. Also a little bit like we're like quirky is what I'd say. He's also New Zealand, so like he's got the voice. He reminds me of a character from Flight of the Conchords. It's like I'm like, you could straight up just be in the show. Now part of it, maybe it's the New Zealand thing, I'm projecting it on there, but also I'm like, I can't tell if you're being like, if that's a type of humor, if it's a persona, or if it's just like, this is just how people in New Zealand naturally are, where it's just like, this is just, you're naturally quirky and it comes off as kind of humorous to us. But in the sense of like, almost like very Stonewall, just straightforward. So anywho, there's my hot take on Sam Ovens. But if you go to skool.com, you will see you are told nothing about any of these features. It is entirely community first. Like that is it. It is just community. You have to go down to the bottom and there's help docs. If you want to see, if you're like, what all does Skool do? You're like, you have to literally scroll to the bottom, go to help docs to find help documentation to be like, oh, turns out Skool has calendars. You're like, otherwise you're like, but their focus is, it's like, we're just community, and all these things are like the after effect of our community. The fact that we have subscriptions, the fact that we have products, the fact that we have calendars, the fact that we have, communication, community management, like a CRM, stuff like that. So anywho, that's our backstory. Now, bring it to today. Convergence. Hormozi has invested in Skool, which he's saying is the largest investment he's ever made. Which I know was some surprising. Of Hormozi's investments, so I think that means that Skool now pays him 20% per month of their top line revenue. I'm just kidding. There's a little hot take there. Now I'm guessing. I actually wouldn't be surprised when he's saying that. I've not heard him speak about it, but so this is my hot take. I would not be surprised if Alex spent $0 if the largest investment he ever made actually involved no money. So I wouldn't be surprised if that was that interpretation there, is it was nothing about money and it was all about time. It was all about promotional schedule, something like that. It may have been dollars. It absolutely may have been capital, but I guess I'm just saying I wouldn't be surprised if this was the largest investment ever he made, was a commitment to 5 hours a week of working on Skool, right? Because he's
that's how he structures a lot of those deals. Yeah.
And I've seen most of the investments he's made are zero exchange of capital on his behalf. It is actually an exchange of capital. Like you pay him for him to invest into you. So
yeah, to get access to his team, his resources, the
yep, that's exactly right. So it is from that perspective. So what does this mean going forward? One, I see why it makes sense, because Skool is growing so quickly because of its freemium model. And also it's so brand led. So for instance, if you're using a platform like High Level, it's your brand that's being built. Someone comes in and joins your membership. your brand is the one that benefits from it.
Yeah.
That's it. Like you sign up, like you go to members.hlphotos.com. There's nothing about High Level that comes into your face. And so if you like that experience, and you go to the community, you're like, wow, this is cool. This is great. All you could think is the person that I just got this from is where I got it from. Like that's it.
Right.
It is entirely, the brand is owned in the person there. Now, pros and cons. Consider this. One, if you're building, build your brand. Build your brand, right? And if you're building on something, if you're going to choose to build someone else on someone else's brand, just know you're building someone else's brand. So if
the irony is so many people are moving to Skool from like Facebook groups. I'm like, you're just moving from one of those things to another. And, but I feel like that's been a big part of the growth too, is people just thinking Facebook groups aren't working because they're not getting the same reach. So they're, I must need a different tool.
Yep. No, for sure. So it's, your communities, your aggregated communities, Facebook definitely gives you less reach. And so Skool has filled a space here for how to, it's just an alternative there. And there's actually been other platforms similar to Skool, like preceding, the clever thing here is Skool is birthed by a marketer, who is intentionally, he would say, you'd be like, he's like, we do no marketing. I'm like, you don't do no marketing. You know what you're doing here. But that's why it's all brand focused, but it is organic or referral. And so then you think about that from the Cygnus perspective. It's a marketer. So who are they going to get their early adopters for? Are going to be other marketers. You know what other marketers do? They're good at marketing. So it's like, if you attract the people that are going to get a mass of customers, there's a network effect that happens. And that's what they were relying on. And that's what is happening. And so there's amazing synergy there for Hormozi and Skool. In terms of my hot take here, here's what I think is going to happen. So all that backstory you might be able to draw this conclusion yourself. High Level was already focused on communities heavily. And this just says this is now a valuable feature set. Now you have a valuable feature set that is now like anchored marketing there. If even one person says, I'm canceling my subscription to High Level because I'm going and I could do it on Skool, or if there's even a whiff of Skool does, like turns out Skool does, 30% of what High Level does, I will not be surprised that feature by feature of whatever Skool does will just be entirely copied onto High Level. So this is the benefit of, I give you the full backstory. Here's context here. Already once, High Level felt a little bit toe stepped on by Hormozi. So there's already this feeling of like, you already tried to come at us and our audience once and we beat you away. And now here he is driving up publicity with Skool, which is already a year of history of like, we're already doing this, we're already launching this, we already know this happens. And so every day that someone says, here's why Skool's better and I'm not using High Level, I'm telling you, like, they have doubled down. They're using community for their own stuff. Like, they are so committed to this piece of the product. And this is basically telling them this is a valuable growing feature set. Like, people are going to be able to compete on the idea of Skool. So for me, if I was like, hey, do you like, we call it success leaves clues, but this is like a lot of folks in terms of like an opportunity. You're like, what opportunity do you want to pursue? Selling websites. You're like, that, like, even if it's tried, true, and solid, and that's your, classic baked potato. You should go check out Marketing with Matt if you don't know what that means. But if this is the trending cool thing, is like communities, their High Level, all of us high levelers are going to be like, High Level, we want to be able to sell the trendy cool thing. We don't want to put ourselves on Skool. We don't want to recommend, Sam Ovens and Hormozi just get a bigger valuation. We would love to be able to do the exact same thing, but keep it on our brand. And so I will, so that's my hot take. Someone's asking, like, what's my 2024 prediction? It is that High Level, like, even it was already happening, but now even more so, they will go feature by feature by feature and copy exactly what Skool is doing. And as much as I'm like, Skool's great, Hormozi, they got a ton of brand reputation there, I know development is hard. And so it's ironic, and someone brought this up to me, is there's a quote by Hormozi. Alex had said, hey, if you're a marketer who just wants to go out there and build a software, don't. kind of like this, essentially the quote is like, marketers should just go out there and try and build the software. And he would even say when he had their software, he knows that wasn't the biggest and best opportunity for him. And it was because just like a marketer trying to build software. The irony here is you're like, Sam Evans is a marketer who went out and built the software. I do think there's been a persona shift, and he's really tried to commit to just being more product focused there. So maybe there's that play there. But in 2024, I think High Level is going to get $1 billion valuation. And that kind of asset resources, like there's just something to be said about development shops. And if I have to bet on, even if Hormozi gave him capital and even if Hormozi has the ability to attract talent, if I have to bet, like the talent that you need here, High Level's attracting it.
Yeah.
The talent that's attracted on that side is not that, like your 10x developers are not like, they're not watching Hormozi videos. It's the classic, like the Microsoft developers. And I've seen like Varun, like who leads up that team from the High Level side, like he rallies those people. And like that is where there's a development power that's the one I wouldn't want to mess with. So there's my High Level hot take on communities in High Level in 2024.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see how it all plays out. Either way, what I hear from you is pay attention to how you're building your community, and check it out in High Level for sure.